Hi friends, it's Liz here. Welcome to my channel and thank you for joining me today. I'm going to be showing you a how to make a journal today with like folio flip out cover using VectoriaDesigns latest junk journal kit. This is one of the mega project packs and it's vintage birds, and there is so much to this kit. I will leave links to VectoriaDesigns in the description box below. They will actually be showing you all the pages in the kit, plus I believe some other tutorials as well with what you can do with the actual project pack itself. I decided I wanted to do a journal that would be easy to do for a beginner, but also tweaked very much for, you know, someone that's intermediate as well. And I'm currently loving things that have lots of flip outs and pockets and tuck spots, and so that's what I did here. So I used the first little tuck spot here where I added just, you know, little to no embellishments, because I wanted this to so you could see what it looks like just using the designs that they have, and then of course you can add your own embellishments as you go. This pocket here, or this tuck spot in this side, has another little section. Here I've added another little pocket here as well, and again with these really nice journaling cards. You flip it out again and then you've got some additional areas to put things in. So you've got a pocket there, you've got a place here that you can add a photo or, you know, a quote or something, and then more additional ephemera pieces here. I did forget to mention or show you one additional tuck spot, but you'll see that when we're making this journal. On the inside cover, we add a little pocket slash tuck spot. This is just a different size that the digitals can be printed at as well. They come in different sizes. So you've got your journaling pages. I'll show you the pages that I'll be adding to it. And then the back, we've also added another pocket. This one I just added one of the envelopes that are in the kit. And then you have an option in the back to have an additional large pocket. Okay, so let's get started. So you will need a few envelopes to make this project. I'm using some of the envelopes that are in the kit. I'm also using this larger envelope to make the base, and I will have details of the sizes in the description box below, as well as on my blog if you want to check that out. I also am using this smaller one here. So I'll basically use 3 envelopes for the front plus the base. I used one of the envelopes that were in the kit as a template for making this one, but you will find that there are templates in this giant project pack as well for you to make your own envelopes, etc. So I wanted to make mine because I needed the paper to face a certain way. I'm also using an extra envelope that I had, and I'll have the size of that as well for you, but you can make this with any envelopes that you have. And then you'll also need some of the papers that you can use to, of course, decorate the cover. So we're going to start putting this together, and you'll see how easy it is once we get started. So the first thing you'll need is your large envelope, which you'll have to decide if you want to seal the flap or if you want to leave it open, and then which way it's going to face. So for this cover here, I'm going to want my flap to face the inside and in the back of the journal. So I could leave it here when you open the journal and it would be there, or it could be on the back when you're opening up your journal. So that's why I'm doing here. The next thing you're going to want is to figure out the envelopes and how many you want. I'll be using 3 for the top. This is the one that I made using the template from the kit and using one of the pages. This is the extra envelope that I had that we will decorate. And now we're just going to start setting up where I think they're going to need to go. You'll be attaching these, again, depending on your cover and where you want your flaps to be. So you'll see here, I'm just sort of laying them out to just give me an idea where I might want these envelopes to be. And that will, you know, designate where the flip outs are coming. So I'm using my favorite tacky glue. I will link that in the description box below in case you're interested in seeing my favorite supplies. I use this wet glue because it's cheaper than some products out there, but it's also really good with paper because it does not warp your paper. And that's one thing that's important for me with, you know, using my paper projects, etc. So I'm just closing up this envelope. You could also, if you are printing the envelopes from the kits, you could also print them double-sided so that you don't have the white showing on the inside. But I don't mind that at all. Excuse me, because I will be, you know, just using them to put things in. I won't really be looking at the white space, a lot of it. So I've just closed both of the envelopes. And now I'm starting to, again, look at my layering. So I think my first one is going to be opening to the right of my journal cover. And then I'm just, again, just eyeballing if I want it in that position. Then I'm just going to glue the flap down, as you can see here. Just adding my adhesive to it. And again, you can use your favorite adhesive. I just like to use this glue because I find that it's easier to, you know, move paper around a little bit when it's this type of wet glue. And in case I don't line it up properly, I don't have to rip or tear things apart. It will easily come off and then I can just readjust it. So I have my first envelope down. And then I'm going to be attaching the second envelope. And again, I'm just looking at where I want it to go. And the reason I made this envelope this way is because I wanted the images to be facing this way, because I knew I was going to be using this one to open to my left of my cover. So as you can see here, everything is facing the right way. It's not an envelope that would be, the images are facing sideways. And then my top envelope here, I decide that I'm just going to add it on top of this one. This is one of those projects that, you know, you can take ideas from and make it your own, but it's just so fun to make with the items that are already included in the kit. So you have different ways of using your pieces with this type of project. And I think right now one of my favorite things is doing flip outs and folios and that sort of thing with lots of pockets and tuck spots, etc. So you can see how that is turning out right there. So the next step is going to be choosing your paper for your cover, your front and back covers. I decided to go for the pages that print out this way because then again my pattern is facing the way I want it to, and also I have enough paper from the 8.5 by 11 sheets that I'm printing to fully cover the front and back. So I'll start with the back cover, and I'm using again just my favorite glue. I'm just going to be adding my glue to the back and adhering it on, as you can see here. And then when I move on to the front, you have to be just a little more careful with how you cut your paper. Because of the envelopes, you want to make sure that your paper fits within the fold lines of the envelopes so that it doesn't get stuck when you are flipping the envelopes back in. As you see here, you have to make sure that you have just enough give, or just enough space I should say, on either side so that it fits nicely. I really like how that little bird is popping up on the top, and I like that when you open up the envelopes you'll see that nice image on the front there. So I've just added glue to the back of my image, and now I'm just going to be attaching it, covering up most of the flaps on the envelopes as I'm doing that, and then just readjusting it as I need to. So I am just making sure that my paper has adhered properly to my covers. I'm using this bone folder to make sure the glue reaches, you know, all the little areas that I need it to. Now I'm just checking again how it looks. So far I am loving it. So now we'll be moving in to the inside of the journal cover. And again, I've used two pieces from the kits, and I'm Now just going to be deciding if I'm going to close this up or if I'm going to just stick it inside. And for now, I'm sticking the flap inside because I want that large pocket to be left in the back. So I've cut my pieces to size, of course, and as you can see here, just, basically cut 2 pieces of paper to fit the full size of the inside covers. I am leaving the center fold without covering that up because of how I will be attaching the pages in this journal. So again, I'll just go ahead and add my glue and attach the page to it here. I have shown you in other videos how I make journals of different sizes. I have as well in my playlist, I have like a small journal that I made with a paper bag. And then I've got also some, kind of beginner style junk journals that you can make if you are new to making junk journals or, altered books, that sort of thing. This one is meant to be for someone that is kind of a beginner / intermediate, but you can always tweak everything I'm doing to suit how, you like to put something together. But the intention of this one was for someone that's starting out and is trying to figure out a different way to make a journal that's slightly different from, your usual book covers, etc. So here you just saw that I readjusted my page a little bit, and like I said before, that's what I like about this liquid glue, is that it's very forgiving when you want to move things around a little bit. So this next step is important because you're going to be gluing the paper to the back side. Because it is a pocket, you want to make sure you add your glue to the outline of your envelope pocket here and not to your paper, because if you were to add your glue just to your paper you're gluing on top, you might glue the pocket shut if you don't remember exactly where the glue is supposed to go. As you can see here, I've just done the outline of where the paper is going to be glued on, making sure that I leave that pocket open on the right side there. And again, I'm just going to be readjusting my paper and making sure that it fits nicely in the area where it's supposed to go. And I'm just making sure that it is adhered properly. I'll also be showing you later in the video how we can reinforce this envelope cover, so stay tuned for that if you want to check that out. So now moving on to the the inside, I'm just going to add some really easy pockets, again using the digitals that we have in the kit, some leftover pieces that I've cut out from making the covers, like the cover pages for the sizes. So I'm using this one piece from the kit that will become a pocket, and I'm just adding this one to the back. And then I decided that for the front inside cover, I want to do almost like a really large pocket / tuck spot, so you can tuck additional pieces in there. So now you have your pocket here and then your large pocket in the back. And again, like I said, I'm going to be deciding here where I want this long strip of paper to go, because I decided I want to make it into a tuck spot for the inside front cover. And I think I like it positioned in this way because when you close your cover, the piece that you stick in there, the pieces that you stick in there, they won't fly out of the pocket, if you kind of get what I'm saying here. So right now I'm just eyeballing where I want this to go. I could measure, but I want to make sure that I get it right on that mark of where my inside paper covers end. And so I just kind of made a little, a little notch there with my pencil to make sure I get the right size to cover that piece. And as you can see, it fits perfectly. And then I'll just be adding my glue to 3 sides to make that tuck spot. And as I've mentioned before, I will be putting all the sizing of what I used in the description box below and on my blog, because sometimes when I'm making the video and trying to give you details of what I'm doing, I tend to mess up my, my sizes of items and then it gets confusing. So I'd rather not say that here, but I will put the correct sizing of items in the description box below and on my blog. Hopefully that will be a little easier. All right, so we've added these two little pockets on the inside of our journal cover. Now the paper selection is going to be fun. I will be using a lot of, probably about 5 or 6 pieces of the digital that I'm showing you today. And then I decided that I wanted this journal to have primarily blank pages because I will be adding, my own embellishments afterwards. And so all I'll be doing to these 8.5 by 11 sheets of paper is folding them in half. I have a few that have been coffee stained or sprayed with inks. And again, I've taken those and folded them to fit the 8.5 by 11 size so that, your journal pages are all about the same size top and sides, as you can see here. And then I've just gone ahead and, put one sheet of paper in between the digital print. And this just helps me kind of keep things in order. And then the centerpiece, I decided to just add one of the digitals facing me so that it would be nice to look at when you've got your center of your album. So I'll be showing you how we will be putting these pages in a little bit later, but for now we're going to finish the decoration of the cover. So the next step is actually covering up our big envelope in the back. I've gone ahead and cut my paper to size to make sure that I cover the entire front facing part of the envelope. Again, I'm just adding my glue to the paper and then I'll be attaching it to my envelope. Now, again, it depends on what you use. If you ended up making another envelope yourself and it already has the design, you won't be needing to do this step. And if you also just, didn't add your envelopes this way, then of course you'll be skipping this part as well. But I really like just the layering effect of the envelopes and then the different pieces from the digital that I'm using to kind of decorate the envelopes this way. So again, I'm just testing that, the outside envelope folds nicely. And then you've got your design there. So now I'll be doing the same to the inside of this envelope. And again, this is up to you. If you want to cut a piece that fits exactly the way your envelope is shaped, you could do that. Like this has that little V there. You could cut that out. But I want to cover it completely to make it almost like a secret pocket that you won't be able to see. But it's there if, if you're going to be working on it. I think at some point I will opt to maybe punch out a little notch in the center of that pocket so that you can kind of see there's something there, but it's not too obvious. But I'm not sure, if that's something that you would do. So again, in order to keep this pocket open, I'm just adding glue to the top of the envelope that's outlined here, and I won't be adding my glue to my paper because then I may accidentally close the entire pocket and then it's just not usable. If I wanted to as well, I could completely add the paper to the envelope, on all 4 corners, and then I would cut the top of the envelope slightly to make a pocket coming out from the top. But again, that's another option. But for this particular video, I'm just leaving it as is so you can see that it's now has a pocket on this side right here. And then you've got your design on the other side. Okay, so next we are going to start decorating the envelopes for the cover. And I'm using one of the items from the kit. And I happen to have this cute little nest, an embellishment, I guess, from a paper scrap from somewhere. I don't know. Probably got that in mail. And I'm just going to be adding these two to the cover to do some embellishments. Now, again, this is the part where you would decide, you know, how much you want to add to your covers. Do you want to add thick embellishments? Do you want to keep everything mostly flat? I'm opting for keeping as much of it as flat as possible because I'm always thinking about, you know, sending this in mail to friends, how much cheaper it is to ship something when it's as flat as possible. Even if you do stuff it with pieces, it won't have the bulky embellishments that some items have. So it's just that much easier to do as well. So I've got something done for this little flap of the envelope. You've got your little tuck there. And again, if I had used double-sided paper, you wouldn't see the white side of the envelope peeking through. The next one I want to use is one of the pockets, again, that came in the kit. And if you wanted to, you know, make the pockets with the different papers that are included, of course, you can use one of these as the templates. And I like that these kits have options to use, you know, the templates that they include to make your own, you know, paper crafting project the way you want to. So here I'm just making sure that I have my glue on all sides of my pocket. And then I'm just adding that to this envelope on this side. And I'm just going to keep adding bits and pieces as I go. I really wanted to have lots of tuck spots and pockets in this, on this journal cover, I should say. And I like that a lot of the embellishments are going to be on the front and not necessarily on the inside where the journal pages are right now, because I'll be decorating those as I go, you know, as I'm journaling or adding my photos, etc. Here I'm just trying to decide where I want this pocket to go. And I think I decided that I would put it on this envelope side here so that it kind of blends in with the design. You don't really see that it's a pocket unless you stick something in it. And of course, I really like that idea of having those little extra spots that seem to sort of blend in with the rest of the design. Now you can always leave all these envelopes just as they are, and then if you wanted to add your photos instead, you could do that if that's, you know, what you wanted to use this for. But I did want to add lots of different little pockets and areas to tuck, you know, embellishments or ephemera in. I'm using again some of the strips that were left over from cutting the papers for the covers, and I'm going to make 2 pockets out of 1 strip that I had left. And again, I'm just, you know, kind of cutting this strip in half and then making 2 smaller pockets that will be on this inside part of the front cover, if that makes sense of what I'm saying, because this is still the cover of our junk journal, but it's got lots of, you know, kind of interactive pieces that you get to use before you even get into the cover, into the journal itself. So now I'm just making sure that I've placed them where I want them to go, and I'm just adding them again to the areas that I decided would look nice with this. Again, I could embellish these a lot more, but for the purposes of the video, I just wanted to show you the basic idea of how I go about adding pockets and, you know, just different elements to my covers of some of my journals. I think my favorite journals so far have been the ones I've shown you that you can make that are either, you know, with removable pages, different ways of attaching your pages to your journals, but also that they can be easily made by anyone starting out. You don't have to have anything fancy to make your journals. And, you know, for some of these journals like this one, you don't even need to stitch anything in. You can just use your items to add your pages to it. Okay, so I'm liking how this looks so far. Okay, so I decided that I wanted to add an additional pocket, and I'm just making one with a piece of the ephemera that was in the kit, and I'm just cutting it, you know, just to give it a little shape and to fit within this little piece of the corner of this page, because that's where I wanted it to go. So you can just see how I'm going to be adding that to, again, this flip out part of the cover. And I like to, you know, to be able to do that when I can, to just add something here and there that may not have been part of, you know, that page's design. Okay, so next I'm going to show you the reinforcement of the cover. I did mention that I was going to show you my thoughts about that. You can leave it like this, of course. You don't need to, you know, reinforce the cover. But I like to use just leftover, you know, scraps or cereal boxes cut up to fit the inside of the envelope. So I just cut two pieces, one to fit on the front and then one to be tucked in the back. And this again is your choice if you wanted to add some glue and adhere it, but I don't find that you need to. You just have to make sure that you place it, you know, right at the end of the envelope so it's secured nicely in for the front cover. And then for the back cover again, I'm just taking out my my closure for my envelope, and then I'm going to tuck it back inside there. This is the other thing you could do as well if you wanted to. You could add some paper to the flap of the envelope so that it matches the same design. I didn't do it for this video, but that's an option. Or again, if you didn't leave it open, you could close this up and just leave it as is. So it's just one of those extra things that if you wanted to, you could do it at the beginning. Now this is, I think, the best way to add pages to this journal. I am using my paper punch and I'm pushing it up as far as it can reach with, you know, with the way it's designed. And I'm just going to do that on either side. Now, you don't have to do this part. You can go ahead and stitch in your journal pages if you wanted to. I do have videos showing you how I stitch pages with a 3-hole pamphlet stitch. As well, you can do the easy binding, which is just adding an elastic closure to that as well. I have a video that will show you how to do that as well, which I will link below. But I opted to use the 2 holes at the top and bottom of the cover. And then I'm just making a quick, you know, spine guide for it. And this is just a piece of photocopy paper that I have cut to size to fit the height of my pages. And I'm just wrapping it around the outside of the pages to align it with the 2 holes that I have already punched out. This way, when I take my my spine guide, I'm going to call it here, and I've just folded this paper in half. I'm going to be sticking it to, you know, I'm grabbing 2 or 3 pages at once. I'll be just holding it in place to where I want to punch my holes. And then I'm just going to go ahead and do that. Now, to make this easy for you as well, you can go ahead and write top to the top part of your guide. This way it will be easier when you move on to the next pages to know which is the top and bottom of your you know, spine guide. Now, because I was just doing this for the video, I wasn't very precise on, you know, where the hole was in the middle and the center of my pages. Also because it's hard for me to do that when I need you to see what I'm doing, and then if I need to hold it up so that I can see a better view of it. So that's why it's a little wonky, but you make sure that when you actually punch out your holes, here like this again, you could even go ahead with a pencil and mark where you are going to be punching out your holes instead of holding your template in place, and then it will make it easier when you're holding your pages together and making the hole for them to actually be centered in your pages. And again, this is something that I was just doing this to show you so you could see what it's going to look like. The next step is going to be how we bind this. So of course here you can add your own ribbons, twine, whatever you wish. I'm going to use this really nice piece of sari silk ribbon that I have. And again, the length of this is up to you, how long you want it. But you can see that I'm just feeding it through the top of all the pages at the top here. And then I'll be feeding the other part at the bottom, and then just doing the same with the cover. Now, the reason I really like this type of binding, it's because it's so flexible. So for example, if I were to feed the ribbon from back to front, which means I would have started on the cover, going through the front of the pages and tying it inside the journal pages, then I would be able to add additional pages by unraveling the ribbon whenever I wanted to do that. But for the purposes of this video, as you can see here, I'm attaching the pages with the sari silk sticking out on the back of my journal cover. So it's just going through here. I will be tying this together, and that will hold my pages in place, which means that the inside will not have the bulky ribbon that I'm going to be tying, but I can also continue to add pages because it's somewhat an easy binding journal, which means you still have areas where you could add more pages to it. And I'm going to show you, just quickly how I'm going to do that as well. So here I'm just struggling with tying my ribbon. I'll be finishing this up soon. And like I said, if you went the other way, you would be tying this ribbon on the inside of your journal. So it would be in the center of your page. But because I started inside going out, the center here has just a nice flat ribbon to show. And then my actual tie is on the outside of my cover. So what I was saying is the best part about this is I can now go ahead, and if I've got some additional pieces that I want to add, I'll just pick a spot, open up my page, and then just add it in. As long as it fits in between the size of your punched holes, then it will work out perfectly. If I wanted to, again, add the larger pages to it, I would have wrapped the string the opposite direction, and then I could untie it at the center whenever I wanted and then added more pages. So that again is up to you. As I mentioned before, you could also go ahead and just stitch your pages into your journal cover, and you wouldn't have to be doing this part. And as I said, I do have a couple videos showing you a 3-hole pamphlet stitch on how I go about and insert pages. There's also one that I've done with a hidden spine, which might be useful. I will link those as well. So this is what this has turned out like. I absolutely like how easy it is to put together. You can quickly make this in a couple of hours if you have all your pieces ready to go. It's all a matter of decorating and gluing things where you want to, cover your pieces. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for joining me today. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, leave a comment below if you like this video and you want to see more like this, and I will see you next time. Thanks so much for stopping by.